Oh my goodness gracious. Another one of these videos.
Nice.
Who would have guessed? Okay, I knew I said I was going to make a graphics mod overhaul video in the Discord, but that kind of went south. So today I decided, you know what, let's just make this easy. Today I'm going to be going over some beginner tips for modding a Ps4 or Ps5 load order. Let's get right into it because I hate long intros. Everybody wants a load order and a modded game that is awesome, feels awesome, looks awesome, and then they wind up downloading all the mods to make that happen, and then they get something that looks like this, and we don't want this. So today, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you some beginner tips to help you stabilize your load order and stabilize the mods that you download. And I'm also going to be throwing in a few tips and tricks here and there just to make sure people who are new to modding or the modding scene they have a good grasp as to what they're doing. So the first tip I'm going to be making, and this is probably the most important, is make a loaded save. For the love of God, make a loaded save, please. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is when they download a bunch of mods, and a bunch of mods, and they make no save, and then they press the continue button. This is probably one of the reasons you are lagging, crashing, mods are conflicting. This could cause an array of issues. What I recommend you do is you load a save, a big save. Now this could be done in the middle of a playthrough, at the beginning of a playthrough, or even at the end. All it depends on is if you download a big bunch of mods, this is the save that you want to fall back on. For example, this one right here is mine. Once you load that save, you will see something like this. My load order is changing a lot of the time, so, you know, because when you own a PS4 channel, that's kind of what happens. So a lot of people asking for my load order. I'm sorry, this is not the video that you want to look at, so don't sneak peek at the load order in this video and think that is legit, because it's not. So when you load a save, you'll see something like this. This save relies on content that is no longer present. Some objects may no longer be available. Continue loading. Justice, city exteriors, and then so forth. All the mods below that. This will let you know that these mods are no longer available, while also putting in and implementing the new mods. Think of like a puzzle. The mods will like snap into place and take the old ones out. If you go into the continue and you just continue, the data of the mods you deleted are still going to be in your game on top of the mods that you just added. So what you want to do is you want to make a loaded save just so the data of those mods get reset, and that way your game and your mods will work smoothly. No harm, no foul. Something I heavily recommend that you do this with are graphic overhauls, lighting overhauls, city overhauls, NPC behavior overhauls, combat mods, texture mods, cheat rooms, and a few others that I'm going to put up on the screen right here. Making a loaded save is probably one of the most important things about modding your Skyrim, because you want to make sure that your mods work properly. Definitely recommend making a loaded save, that way your mods can just click into place properly. Did I just sink into the floor? Oh boy. I could already see the comments. The next thing that I want you beginners to do is to test the mods. Now testing the mods could do anything. They could really prove to see how stable your game is. So how do you test your mods? How do you make sure your mods are working properly while also making your mods look as good as possible? Let me show you. The first thing that you want to recognize is that every mod is different, but they can all be put into categories. Lighting mods, graphical overhauls, and city mods or city overhauls or town overhauls can be put into a vague enough category to where you can test them the same. Dud mods and detail mods can be put in the same category, and then NPC combat overhauls and NPC behavior overhauls and wildlife overhauls can also be tested differently. Now, the way that I would recommend you test your lighting overhauls, your city overhauls, and your graphical overhauls is you just go into the place that you suspect would have a good amount of crashing and sprint through it. You can sprint through it, you can run around, just look for any sort of lag spike. Something that I routinely do when I download a new mod, such as the one that I have right now called Cato's Whiterun for those who want to check it out. I also have Brown Whiterun, Agalma Infinium, and Azurite Weathers all installed in the same load order right now. Now, something I will routinely do is I will run around in the city and I will just look for any sort of lag spike. I look for just about anything. I try to cause problems and I try to make vanilla-based issues come to light by just causing normal Skyrim gameplay. Now, something else you could do if you want to test out these types of mods is you could drop a crap ton of items on the ground and see if your game crashes. Now, keep in mind, this is bound to make your game lag, so don't get too concerned if your game starts lagging when you do this, because this is inevitable. This is the point of what you are doing. The point of this is to make sure your game lags, but you don't want it to crash, so that is the point of this. You want to push the game's limits to as far as you possibly can. If you crash, you know you have a problem. Something I like to do is I like to use potions, scrolls, and food. Anything that you really wouldn't recommend or really have any use for, just drop it on the ground. That is a lot of potions that would definitely cause a normal buggy load order to kind of bug out a lot. Considering I had 0 lag issues, this tells me that Whiterun is good to go. Now, to prove to the more advanced modders that I'm not just making up shit, I'm going to go to Falkreath, which I know for a fact is a lot more laggier than my Whiterun. So I'm going to prove that this actually works by getting a much more violent reaction out of the game. Right away you could kind of tell because of how I'm looking around, this is a little bit more choppy than Whiterun. So, just to prove the point, let's go ahead and drop a shit ton of items and see what kind of reaction we get. The smaller the item, the better, because the smaller items for some reason cause the game to bug out at times, especially iron ingots or just normal ingots or anything of that sort. And my game is a little bit laggier than it is in Whiterun. Now, although my game in Falkreath is not nearly as bad, you can clearly tell the difference between Whiterun and Falkreath. So, with that being said, this is a good way to test your mods and make sure that they are good. So that is how you test your lighting mods, your city overhauls, and your city mods. That is a lot better. I'm going to go back to Falkreath and fix it up after the video is done. But, now that you know how to test your lighting mods, your city overhauls, and your graphics, how do you test NPC and combat mods? Well, this one's a bit simple. Simply get an NPC to attack another NPC and see what happens. I'm going to use Cicero, for example. Actually, no, he's way too powerful. He'll murder somebody. Who's a weaker character? Congratulations, my friend, you are going to be used.
I calculate our
for the first time in like decades. Force ring? You don't. So you're just gonna get bodied by a blacksmith or something. Take this. Take that ring. It's yours now. Wear it with pride because you're garbage otherwise. I'm gonna tell my father. No! The way you could test your combat mod and your NPC behavior overhauls is you could just make them fight. Just making them fight will definitely make sure that your NPC mods are working. And that is not at all working. Detail mods, they're a little bit on the fence. To be honest, you should be able to tell if a detail mod is messing up your game just by walking by them. Usually detail mods and dud mods don't really have any effect on the game, but if we're talking cheat rooms or any other detail mod that just so happens to be a little bit bigger than normal, walking by them is enough to see if your load order is taking it well. So yeah, testing your mods is very important. The next thing is the placement of mods. Placement of mods is probably the most important thing that you would want to know how to do. Now, for some reason, reciting it at the top of my head is a fucking pain in the ass, and my brain is incapable of doing so. So I'm gonna put it on the side here. Your mods should be layered, something like this. Now, there are certain, there are certain mods that you would put them in a different spot despite what this video says, but they are exceptions to the rule, and you'll learn that with more advanced modding and time and putting time into modding or watching videos. There are certain things you'll just kind of pick up on when you get into it. Now, right here on the screen is where your generic load order should look like. The more advanced ones are going to be put in another video. The placement of mods is important because you want certain mods to overlap other mods. Realistic combat AI. Reading the mods will definitely help you figure out which ones need to overlap which, so definitely look into the placement of where mods are supposed to go. The placement of mods is very important because you want certain things to overlap the other, but you also want things to not do that. Otherwise, the game will break, crash, or cause a lot of bugs like this. And this is a result of an NPC overhaul interfering with something else, and I have to figure out what it is. And this is what you want to avoid. So I would definitely recommend looking into the placement of mods just because you do not want to deal with the bugs and everything else. Here's some general information. I'm just going to say this. Certain mods are more important than the others because for obvious reasons. City overhauls are going to be more important than mods that add lanterns, or follower mods are going to be more important than mods that add butterflies. Categorizing your mods is probably going to be a more important thing that you can do, not to make your physical load order better, but your understanding of mods a lot easier. Now, something that I like to recommend is I personally think weather mods are the most sensitive and the most important. Weather mods, graphical overhauls, texture mods, city overhauls, and graphical overhauls are very, very important because these are going to be the determined factors to see how good your base of a load order is. You don't want to be messing around with these types of mods because these are going to be the mods that essentially break your game. Okay. Accepting the fact that this game is going to crash, this game is going to lag until you get it right is just part of Skyrim. So just play the game, see if you can recognize anything. There's plenty of ways to look into things, and there's plenty of ways to just kind of test your mods. Really, you just want to push your limit and see if you can play the game normally, because if you can find a point where you cannot play to, my personal is having 40 NPCs around with all of my stuff dropped on the ground and magic flying everywhere. That's before I crash. I will never ever get to that point really where I'm actually playing the game. I will never get to that point, so that's the point you want to stay at. Find that point where you're never gonna really be here, or you just want to test your game and cause a mass amount of chaos. Find that point where your game will break and see if you can expand on it, or if you're good and you don't want to expand on it because you know you'll never be there in a normal situation, that's where you would want to stay, if that makes sense. But anyways, I hope this beginner's tip video was useful to those who are just starting out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will see you all in the next video. Peace out, yo.